Welcome, weary traveler, to a quiet journey across a profound and often subtly intricate landscape of human connection, marriage in an ancient Roman province. Tonight, we drift softly back to a time when empires stretched far and wide, and local customs often intertwined with imperial decrees. Allow the gentle current of these serene narratives, tales of quiet unions, sacred rites, and the enduring echoes of cultural blending to carry you, to calm your thoughts, and perhaps to guide you towards a tranquil stillness. Imagine yourself, if you will, not in the comfort of your present moment, but transported back, far back, to the year 150 CE. The setting is a far-flung, often misshrouded land within the vast Roman Empire, Britannia. And you are, for the purpose of our quiet contemplation, a bride, one whose life is about to intertwine with not just another individual, but with the subtle complexities of two distinct cultures. You are preparing for a marriage blending Celtic and Roman rites, a union that is both deeply personal and profoundly symbolic. The first sensation that might envelop you is the pervasive dampness of the land. Your wool cloak is damp, a constant companion against the misty air that clings to everything. Imagine the subtle discomfort of its heavy, sodden texture against your skin, the quiet chill that might subtly permeate your garments. This is a quiet, persistent struggle against the elements that define the very landscape of your new life. The dominant sounds would be the soft drip of water from unseen leaves and the gentle, persistent sigh of damp wind, emphasizing the natural, untamed beauty of the province. Your daily sustenance, though simple, reflects the practical realities of the region. Your diet consists primarily of oats, a staple grain providing sustenance but little luxury. Imagine the earthy flavor, the quiet chewiness, the humble satisfaction of a meal designed for practicality. There would be little of the exotic flavors of Rome, only the quiet understanding that this simple fare provides the minimal energy needed to face another day and the significant ceremonies ahead. But beyond these physical realities, there is a pervasive and profound societal dimension that dictates your very existence. Tribal tensions unsettle you. Imagine the subtle whispers of discontent, the quiet glances exchanged between Roman soldiers and local Britons. Though the land is under Roman rule, the ancient Celtic ways persist, and sometimes the harmony is fragile. The sounds around you might be the distant lowing of cattle, mingled with the rhythmic clang of Roman legionaries, or the hushed, almost melodic tones of a Celtic tongue, creating a quiet tension in the very fabric of daily life. This segment immerses you in the sensory grind of being a provincial Roman bride. You observe the misty air that often shrouds the rolling hills and ancient forests, lending a mystical, almost ethereal quality to the landscape. The scent of wood smoke would be pervasive, emanating from humble hearths and more elaborate Roman villas, a quiet testament to the ubiquitous presence of daily life. At the heart of your union, the materials of tradition come together. A clay altar might be prepared for Celtic offerings, perhaps adorned with local wildflowers, standing in quiet juxtaposition to the more formal, carved stone altars dedicated to Roman deities. And beneath all this, a pervasive, quiet tension, the pressure to unite two cultures through your union. This pressure is not spoken, but felt, a profound societal weight placed upon your quiet personal choice, emphasizing your role as a bridge between worlds. To exist in such a state, to navigate daily life within this cross-cultural environment, required immense, quiet adaptability. It demanded a deep, often unspoken, understanding of two distinct ways of life, a profound resilience in the face of constant cultural negotiation, and a quiet, almost meditative acceptance of your place within a larger imperial design. The rhythm of your days would be a constant, subtle dance of personal commitment and broader societal expectation, a silent testament to the gentle yet profound power of marriage in binding together disparate worlds. From the damp climate and the subtle cultural tensions of Rome and Britannia, let us now gently descend deeper into the heart of the ceremony itself, the hybrid rituals of provincial marriage. These unions were not simply a merging of two individuals, but a fascinating blend of ancient traditions, where local customs often found their place alongside the imposing rites of the Roman Empire. This segment invites you to observe the delicate balance, the quiet negotiations, and the symbolic gestures that define these cross-cultural celebrations. Imagine the sacred space prepared for your wedding. It might be a clearing in a revered grove, or perhaps a more formal structure on a Roman estate, but within it, the ancient and the new would intertwine. You would begin by preparing your offerings. You might offer Celtic herbs, perhaps sprigs of sacred mistletoe or bundles of fragrant local plants, carefully placed on an unassuming altar. Imagine the subtle, earthy scent released as they are arranged, a quiet nod to the indigenous spirits of the land. Alongside these, in a deliberate gesture of imperial inclusion, you would also offer a Roman wine poured from an amphora into a ceremonial cup, its rich aroma mingling with the wilder scents of the herbs. The quiet glug of the liquid, the soft clink of the pottery, would mark this blend of traditions. Yet, even in these moments of ritual, the tension between the two cultures could subtly manifest. Local elders and Roman officials might clash over customs. Imagine the quiet yet firm discussions concerning the order of ceremonies, the interpretation of omens, or the precise wording of vows. The sounds might be the low, resonant tones of a Celtic elder speaking, contrasted with the sharper, more authoritative Latin of a Roman administrator. These were not always overt arguments, but subtle negotiations of power and respect, playing out in the background of your significant day. The vows themselves would embody this cultural fusion. You might utter bilingual vows, perhaps speaking a phrase in the ancient Brythonic tongue of your ancestors, followed by a resonant promise in formal Latin. Imagine the quiet effort to articulate these words, ensuring both traditions were honored, the subtle shift in your voice as you navigated between the two languages. This was more than just translation. It was an act of bridging, a quiet commitment to two distinct heritages. The celebratory feast that followed would further exemplify this blending. You would partake in mixed feasts, where the earthy, comforting flavors of local fare, perhaps roasted boar or hearty root vegetables, would be served alongside imported Roman delicacies, like olives or seasoned bread. Imagine the mingling aromas, the quiet hum of conversation, the subtle sounds of clinking pottery, and the soft murmur of guests partaking in the varied offerings. This culinary fusion was a tangible representation of the union itself. But beneath the feasting and the vows, an undercurrent of tension persisted, the tension of balancing tradition with imperial expectations. Imagine the quiet awareness of the Roman governor's gaze, or the subtle nods of approval from your local kinsfolk. Your marriage was not just a personal celebration. It was a visible act of integration, a quiet testament to the possibility of harmony, or at least coexistence between the conquerors and the conquered. The subtle sway between ancient rites and new rules, between local beliefs and imperial law, would be a constant, almost imperceptible, balancing act. To navigate such hybrid rituals, to embody such a complex union, required immense quiet grace. It demanded a profound understanding of two distinct cultural legacies, a subtle diplomacy in moments of potential friction, and a quiet, almost spiritual acceptance of your role as a bridge between worlds. The gentle tinkle of bells, the mingled aromas of herbs and wine, and the pervasive, quiet tension of cultural fusion. These are the calming echoes of a profound historical moment, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet power of marriage and binding together disparate societies. From the quiet, intricate blend of provincial marriage rituals, let us now gently ascend to a more expansive narrative, one that intertwines personal connection with imperial power, the remarkable story of Septimius Severus and Julia Domna. Their union, far from a simple provincial match, became a cornerstone of Roman history, illustrating how strategic alliances could blossom into profound influence and lasting legacy. This narrative traces their unique bond, her significant impact, and the powerful dynasty they forged, all told in a soothing tone that explores love and ambition across Rome's vast empire. Imagine Septimius Severus, a man of humble origins from Leptis Magna in North Africa, steadily rising through the ranks of the Roman military and administration. His career brought him to various provinces, exposing him to the diverse tapestry of the empire. He was a pragmatic and ambitious leader. His gaze, however, turned not to Rome for a bride, but towards the distant, culturally rich lands of Syria. This was a strategic union, yet one that would prove to be deeply personal and influential. He sought out Julia Domna, a woman of remarkable intellect and formidable character, from an ancient, distinguished family in Emesa, Syria. Imagine the initial negotiations, the careful exchange of messages across vast distances. Their marriage, initially a political calculation to secure alliances and legitimacy in the eastern provinces, quickly evolved into a partnership of profound mutual respect and affection. The sounds associated with their early life might be the distant clatter of military movements, mingled with the hushed discussions of political strategy in a quiet tent or temporary residence. Julia Domna's influence on Septimius Severus, and indeed on the empire, was immense and quiet. She was not merely an empress. She was a philosopher, a patron of the arts and sciences, and a shrewd political advisor. Imagine her in a serene courtyard, surrounded by scholars and thinkers, engaging in quiet intellectual discourse. Her presence lent a sophisticated, Eastern elegance to the Roman court, subtly enriching its cultural fabric. She might have quietly influenced key decisions, her wisdom a constant, reassuring presence beside her ambitious husband. The sounds would be the soft rustle of scrolls being unrolled, the gentle murmur of learned voices, and the quiet scratch of a scribe's pen capturing profound thoughts. As Septimius Severus ascended to the purple, becoming emperor in 193 CE, Julia Domna stood firmly by his side, her role expanding further. She became Mater Castrorum, Mother of the Camps, signifying her deep connection to the military. Their combined strength allowed them to consolidate power and establish a new imperial house. Imagine the subtle power dynamics at play, the quiet understanding between them that fueled their shared ambition. Their union forged a powerful legacy, founding the Severan dynasty that would rule Rome for decades. Their sons, Caracalla and Geta, though ultimately tragic figures, continued their line. Julia Domna's intellect and political acumen, coupled with Severus's military might and administrative skill, created a formidable imperial force. The quiet echo of their footsteps through the imperial palace, the subtle weight of their combined authority, would have resonated throughout the empire. Even after Severus's death, Julia Domna remained a central, influential figure, a testament to her enduring power and the profound bond they shared. This narrative explores how personal connections, even those forged from strategic necessity, can deeply influence the course of history. The gentle clink of distant armor, the subtle scent of exotic spices, and the profound, quiet influence of a remarkable partnership. These are the calming echoes of a love story intertwined with the rise of an empire, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet interplay of personal ambition and imperial destiny. From the expansive imperial romance of Septimius Severus and Julia Domna, let us now gently descend to a more intimate and enigmatic aspect of provincial life, the mystery of the provincial wedding stones. These ancient, often humble, inscribed stones offer a quiet puzzle, hinting at the deep-seated beliefs and rituals that accompanied marriage in the Roman provinces, blending local spirituality with broader Roman customs. This segment invites you on a meditative dive into the relics of provincial marriage, exploring the subtle clues left behind by long-vanished ceremonies. Imagine an archaeologist, many centuries later, carefully excavating a site in a former Roman province. The quiet scrape of a trowel against compacted earth, the methodical brushing away of soil, might reveal something unexpected. A roughly carved stone, perhaps half buried, bearing faded inscriptions or simple imagery. This leads us to the quiet question: why were inscribed stones buried at provincial wedding sites? The very existence of such stones, often found near the remains of ancient homes, temples, or crossroads, sparks a quiet curiosity. Were they simply markers? Or did they hold a deeper, more profound purpose, connecting the human union to the unseen forces of the land and the divine? Archaeological investigation, or simply careful observation of these quiet finds, can sometimes yield compelling clues. Imagine the painstaking process of cleaning away centuries of grime, revealing the delicate lines of a Latin inscription or the crude carving of a local deity. The cool, heavy feel of an ancient stone, a silent artifact, would be a tangible link to a forgotten past. Within collections of such finds, you might encounter various forms of these stones. Some might be votive tablets, small dedications offered to local spirits or Roman gods for good fortune, fertility, or protection. Imagine a tablet inscribed with names, perhaps the bride and groom, alongside a simple prayer. The subtle texture of the carved stone, the faded characters of the inscription, would speak volumes about the hopes and fears of those who commissioned it. Others might be altar fragments, remnants of larger structures where offerings were once made, perhaps at the very spot where vows were exchanged. The broken edges, the worn surfaces, would hint at the passage of time and the cyclical nature of life. These artifacts prompt profound theories about their role in fertility or loyalty rituals. Were they intended to magically ensure the birth of healthy children, a vital concern for any ancient household? Or did they serve as silent witnesses to oaths of loyalty, not just between spouses, but perhaps also to the local community, or even to the Roman state itself? Some scholars theorize that they might have been a way to solidify the union in the eyes of both Roman law and indigenous spiritual beliefs, subtly weaving together two distinct religious frameworks. The sound surrounding such a theory would be quiet, intellectual, the soft turn of a page in an academic text, the gentle murmur of researchers discussing possibilities, and the profound, heavy silence of time undisturbed by easy answers. The lives of these ancient provincials, though often overlooked in grand imperial narratives, were rich with personal meaning and sacred practice. These stones are the silent witnesses to their hopes, their quiet beliefs, and the profound rituals that underpin their most personal commitments. The gentle scrape of an archaeologist's tool, the faded lines of an ancient inscription, and the profound, silent questions whispered by these humble relics. These are the calming echoes of hidden histories, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet power of human belief and tradition in the ancient world. From the quiet mysteries of ancient wedding stones and the personal hopes they enshrined, let us now gently shift our focus to a contrasting perspective: the life of a Roman provincial governor. While the provincial bride navigated cultural blending and personal commitment, the governor operated within a sphere of imperial authority, political strategy, and constant negotiation. This segment invites you to explore the authoritative, yet delicate and often troubled, world of Rome's provincial elite, from their administrative duties to the quiet pressures of maintaining order and securing influence. Imagine yourself not preparing for a marriage in a damp British village, but within the relative warmth and quiet dignity of a fortified villa overlooking a key provincial town. The air here would feel different, perhaps carrying the subtle scent of polished wood, imported spices, and the faint institutional aroma of official parchment. The sounds would be precise and measured, the soft clink of a stylus against a wax tablet as you dictate orders, the gentle rustle of official scrolls being unrolled, and the low, steady murmur of distant administrative activity, perhaps the quiet sounds of guards or servants, providing a constant backdrop to your authority. Your days as a provincial governor would be filled with a different kind of intensity. Your primary role involves maintaining Roman authority and order in a conquered territory. A significant duty, intertwined with local customs and Roman policy, would involve arranging marriages to secure alliances. Imagine the careful consideration of prominent local families, the strategic weighing of political advantage against potential discontent. These unions were not always about personal affection. They were tools of governance designed to integrate local elites into the Roman system, to pacify potential rebellions, and to solidify Roman influence. The quiet discussions with local leaders, the delicate diplomatic negotiations, would be crucial aspects of your daily work. Life in a governor's villa offered significant comforts compared to the general population of the province. You might dine on varied fare, including imported delicacies, and enjoy the amenities of Roman baths and heated rooms. Imagine the subtle warmth of the villa, the quiet satisfaction of a meal taken in peace, perhaps even with a view of the distant provincial landscape. These moments of respite were essential, providing a brief separation from the intense realities of governing, yet the weight of your responsibilities was never entirely absent. Indeed, despite these privileges, the realities of the province presented constant challenges. Local unrest was a subtle yet persistent threat to your rule. Imagine receiving reports of brigandage in the countryside, whispered rumors of discontent among native tribes, or quiet acts of defiance against Roman taxation. The tension would be palpable, a constant undercurrent to your administrative duties. The knowledge that a small spark could ignite a widespread rebellion would be a profound, unspoken burden, demanding constant vigilance and swift, decisive action when necessary. Furthermore, the pervasive reality of imperial demands from Rome could also indirectly threaten your position. While you aim to maintain peace and extract resources, the ever-present pressure from the emperor or senate for more tribute, more soldiers, or quicker results would weigh heavily. Imagine the quiet dread of an unfavorable dispatch from Rome, or the chilling implication of a political rival undermining your authority at court. Your career, and indeed your life, depended on your ability to balance the local realities with the often unyielding expectations of the distant imperial center. Your rule was a delicate balance of authority, diplomacy, and the constant threat of both local rebellion and imperial displeasure. This segment explores the complex, often solitary, world of the Roman provincial governor, a life privileged in its administrative comforts, yet profoundly burdened by the immense responsibilities of maintaining peace, extracting resources, and navigating the intricate web of local politics and imperial demands. From the careful clink of a stylus meticulously drafting orders to the profound, silent weight of potential unrest and distant imperial scrutiny, these are the calming echoes of a unique leadership experience, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the intricate moral and political landscape of ancient governance. From the elevated world of Roman provincial governors and their strategic alliances, let us now gently descend to the foundational unit of Roman provincial society, the family, and the legal realities that shaped its daily rhythms. Marriage, once initiated by ceremony, transitioned into a complex tapestry of domestic life, property rights, and the enduring responsibilities that bound individuals together. This segment invites you to contemplate the quiet workings of households in ancient Roman provinces, where imperial law often intertwined with long-held local customs in matters of family and legacy. Imagine yourself within the modest yet bustling confines of a provincial home. The air might carry the subtle scent of warm bread baking, the quiet whir of a hand mill grinding grain, or the gentle thump of a mortar and pestle preparing herbs. The daily life would be a constant hum of activity, overseen by the head of the household. This leads us to consider the practicalities of a Roman provincial marriage beyond the wedding day. What defined domestic life and legal realities for these families? Central to Roman family law were two main forms of marriage, cum manu and sine manu. In cum manu marriage, the bride passed into the legal control, or hand, of her husband or his father. In sine manu marriage, which became more common over time, the wife remained under the legal authority of her own father, or remained legally independent if her father was deceased. Imagine the quiet implications of these legal distinctions on a woman's daily life, influencing her property rights, her ability to inherit, and her legal standing. The subtle rustle of legal documents, the formal language of contracts, would define these arrangements, often unseen yet profoundly impactful. Within the household, the role of children was paramount. They were the continuation of the family line, vital for securing alliances and ensuring future prosperity. Imagine the quiet sounds of children at play, their laughter echoing softly through the home, or the gentle murmur of a parent guiding a child through their chores. For Roman citizens in the provinces, children inherited their father's citizenship, a significant advantage. For locals who acquired Roman citizenship, their children would also benefit, subtly changing the social fabric of the province over generations. The education of children, whether through informal lessons at home or more formal schooling in larger towns, was a quiet, continuous effort, shaping the future of the provincial Roman world. Property and inheritance were crucial concerns. For women in sine manu marriages, they often retained rights to their own property, allowing them a degree of financial independence unheard of in many other ancient societies. Imagine the careful management of household accounts, the quiet discussions about dowries and inheritances, ensuring the economic stability of the family. This legal flexibility, particularly in the provinces where local customs of property ownership often differed, allowed for a subtle blending of legal systems, adapting Roman law to regional realities. Even the termination of a marriage, while often a somber event, was, in Roman law, relatively straightforward for both men and women. Divorce, particularly in sine manu marriages, could occur with little more than a declaration of intent. Imagine the quiet yet profound discussions that might lead to such a decision, the subtle parting of ways. While not as common as in later periods, the legal framework allowed for separation, providing a quiet acknowledgement of the complexities of human relationships. This segment explores the quiet, underlying structures of daily life for families in ancient Roman provinces, emphasizing how imperial law and local traditions subtly intertwined to shape domestic realities, property, and the very continuation of family lines. The gentle whir of a domestic loom, the quiet murmur of a family at rest, and the profound, silent interplay of legal frameworks shaping personal lives. These are the calming echoes of deep social structures, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet flow of life within the ancient Roman household. So we've witnessed the profound complexities that define this era, its vast imperial reach and its intimate local customs, its grand historical figures and its quiet personal lives, its rigid laws and its flexible adaptations. It is a world both grand and deeply personal, a testament to the intricate and often harmonious nature of human connection and societal evolution within a diverse historical tapestry. What if I tell you that the iconic image of a cowboy galloping across sun-drenched plains often hides a much colder, quieter reality? Tonight we'll trade the dramatic sunsets for the bite of icy winds and the roaring campfires for the gentle creak of a frozen saddle, as we truly settle into the solitary, enduring life of an 1880s Montana cowboy. The air bites with a keen, dry chill, and a thin layer of hoarfrost glitters on the sparse winter grass. The valleys stretch for miles, often winding between low snow-covered hills. The cattle, hardy longhorns, move slowly, their shaggy coats dusted with frost. You carry strips of dried jerky, tough and salty, which you chew slowly, extracting every bit of protein. A tin cup of coffee, brewed over a meager sagebrush fire, is a precious luxury, its warmth briefly spreading through your chilled hands and down your throat. The taste is bitter, often smoky, but utterly vital. There are no fresh fruits or vegetables for weeks on end, only the basic provisions that can withstand long journeys and harsh conditions. The smell of wood smoke clinging to your clothes is a familiar, comforting scent. You ride alongside them, your horse's hooves crunching softly on the frozen ground. The repetitive sound of their lowing, the creak of your saddle, and the steady beat of your horse's hooves are the constant companions of your days. The sun, though bright, offers little warmth, and the wind, when it picks up, carries with it an unrelenting bite that seems to penetrate every layer of your clothing. The sky above is a vast, unblemished blue, but the distant mountains are already dusted with snow, promising colder days to come. You clench and unclench them, trying to coax feeling back, but the sensation is often dull and distant. Your nose might ache, and the tips of your ears tingle with a persistent chill. You learn to move your body in subtle ways to generate warmth, shifting in the saddle, rubbing your hands together, but the cold is a battle you are always fighting. The taste of the air is crisp, almost metallic, and when you take a deep breath, it stings your lungs. You are a cowboy, a solitary figure on horseback, your breath misting in the frigid air as you survey the herd. Imagine yourself standing on the open range of Montana in the 1880s. Your primary task, day in and day out, is herding cattle through icy valleys. The sheer scale of the landscape is humbling. The cold is a constant, tangible presence. Your fingers, despite thick leather gloves, quickly grow numb from frost. Meals are simple, functional affairs designed for sustenance on the move. When night falls, the cold intensifies, and the stars appear with an astonishing clarity in the vast, unpolluted sky. Sleep, when it comes, is often fitful. You typically sleep in a drafty bunkhouse, a rough-hewn structure of logs or planks, often with chinks in the walls that allow the wind to whistle through. The whisper of snow as your horse pushes through a drift, the faint crackle of ice underfoot, the way the light reflects off a pristine blanket of white, creating an almost blinding glare. You learn to read the subtle signs of the weather, the gathering clouds, the sudden drop in temperature, the shifting wind, for your very survival depends on it. A sudden snowstorm can engulf the landscape in minutes, disorienting both man and beast, leading to frostbite, starvation, and death. It is a life shaped by the raw power of the land, by relentless cold, and by the constant vigilance required for survival. It is a solitary existence, marked by endurance and a quiet determination, far removed from the comforts of a settled world. You envision the swirling white, the howling wind, the loss of all visibility, and the desperate struggle to keep the herd from scattering. Another, more human, fear is that of rustlers. Bands of outlaws roam the range, preying on isolated herds. The threat of violence, of a sudden confrontation in the vast emptiness, is a palpable tension that you carry with you. Always aware of your surroundings, your hand never far from the worn grip of your revolver. The air inside is still frigid, and the thin blankets offer only a meager defense against the biting cold. Days merge into weeks, marked by the rising and setting of the sun, the slow progress of the herd, and the endless miles beneath your horse's hooves. Your muscles ache with a persistent, dull throb, and your mind often drifts into a quiet, almost meditative state born of repetitive motion and constant vigilance. You pull your hat low, burrow into your bedroll, and try to ignore the constant shiver that runs through your body. The sounds are simple: the groan of settling timber, the distant howl of a coyote, or the soft breathing of your fellow cowboys. The ground beneath you is hard, and the exhaustion of the day's ride pulls at your muscles, sometimes making it difficult to find a comfortable position. The sensory chill of snowy trails is an ever-present reality. The exhaustion of long drives becomes a deeply ingrained feeling. Beneath this physical toll, there is also a constant, quiet fear. The frontier is a place of unpredictable dangers. The most immediate is the blizzard. This is the quiet, challenging rhythm of life as a Montana cowboy. As the quiet echoes of a cowboy's grueling daily life fade into the vast Montana night, let us now turn our gaze to a figure whose ambition and resolve helped to shape this formidable landscape, Granville Stewart, known reverently as Mr. Montana Stewart. As story is one deeply intertwined with the development of the territory in the latter half of the 19th century, particularly during the turbulent 1880s, a period that saw the dramatic expansion of the cattle industry. Imagine a man of quiet determination, his face weathered by sun and wind, his eyes holding the steady gaze of someone who has seen much and overcome more. Granville Stewart arrived in Montana early in the 1850s, drawn by the allure of gold. Picture the seemingly endless sea of grass, perfect for grazing thousands upon thousands of cattle. This was a grand vision, a gamble on the sheer scale of the land. But this ambition came with immense challenges. They would take matters into their own hands. This led to what became known as the Stewart Stranglers, or the Vigilante Committees of 1884. Imagine the hushed conversations around campfires, the quiet, somber resolve as men, pushed to their limits, decided to enforce their own form of justice. This was not a cheerful undertaking, but a perceived necessity born of desperation. The actions of these vigilantes were swift and uncompromising. They hunted down suspected rustlers, holding impromptu trials, and often carrying out summary executions. But his destiny, and ultimately his lasting impact, lay not in the shimmering dust of the placer mines, but in the boundless potential of the open range. He was among the very first to truly grasp the potential for cattle ranching in the vast, seemingly empty spaces of Montana. Stewart, along with his brothers, established one of the territory's earliest and most successful cattle operations, the DHS Ranch in the Judith Basin. The most insidious threat to the burgeoning cattle empires was the scourge of rustlers. These were not merely petty thieves. They were often organized gangs, preying on the isolated herds, rebranding stolen cattle, and driving them to distant markets. Their actions threatened the very foundation of the ranching industry, undermining property rights and challenging the fragile order of the frontier. For ranchers like Stewart, these rustlers represented a direct assault on their livelihoods and the fruits of their years of tireless effort. Faced with this growing threat, and with law enforcement often sparse or ineffective in the sprawling territory, Stewart, along with other prominent ranchers, made a grand decision. This period was brutal, a harsh chapter in Montana's history. While controversial today, at the time, many believed it was the only way to establish a semblance of order and protect the nascent industry. Stewart's involvement solidified his reputation as a man who would do what was necessary, a formidable figure in a land that demanded resilience. His struggle against rustlers, while employing methods that are unsettling to modern sensibilities, contributed to the eventual establishment of more formal law and order on the frontier. His experiences with the brutal winters highlighted the inherent risks and led to innovations in ranching. He wasn't just a rancher. He was a chronicler, a diarist, and later a diplomat, providing invaluable insights into the early history of the territory. His unwavering commitment to the protection of his property and the future of ranching shaped the perception of him as a stern, unyielding, but ultimately vital force for order in a chaotic land. Beyond the human element, Granville Stewart also contended with the brutal. Unpredictable forces of nature, particularly the harsh Montana winters. The hard winter of 1886 to 87 stands out as a devastating blow to the open-range cattle industry. Imagine the relentless cold, the blizzards that buried the land under feet of snow, the temperatures plummeting far below zero. Cattle, left to fend for themselves on the open range, succumbed by the thousands. The sheer scale of the loss was catastrophic, wiping out entire fortunes and forcing a fundamental shift in ranching practices, moving away from entirely open, grazing towards more managed approaches. Stewart, despite his foresight and hardiness, suffered immense losses during this period, a testament to the raw power of the land he sought to tame. Granville Stewart's legacy is complex but undeniable. He was a pioneer who helped lay the groundwork for Montana's primary industry. His tale is one of survival, ambition, and the relentless pursuit of an empire in a wild land. It's a story of power not just over men, but over the forces of nature, all delivered to you now in a soothing tone, inviting you to contemplate the quiet yet profound impact of individuals on the vast canvas of history. As the echoes of Granville Stewart's determined struggle against rustlers and blizzards gently fade, let us now embark on a quiet journey to places where time seems to have paused, where the whispers of the past are carried on the wind through empty windows and creaking doors. Before you stands a cluster of weathered wooden buildings, a saloon, a general store, a hotel, perhaps even a gallows, all standing as spectral sentinels to a bygone era. Bannack, in particular, was Montana's first territorial capital, a place of intense activity where prospectors, cowboys, merchants, and outlaws mingled in a raw, untamed environment. Picture the sounds that once filled these streets, the clatter of horses' hooves, the raucous laughter from saloons, the clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the urgent shouts of men. Now, only the wind provides a soundtrack. These are not merely abandoned structures. They are frozen moments in time, leaving us to ponder the quiet mysteries of why their vibrant life suddenly drained away. We are speaking, of course, of the ghost towns of Montana, enigmatic remnants of a frontier boom, places like the famously preserved town of Bannack. Imagine a landscape where silence reigns, broken only by the rustle of dry grass or the distant call of a hawk. Many of these towns, including Bannack, began as bustling cowboy camps or mining settlements, springing up almost overnight wherever gold was discovered or where cattle ranches needed central hubs. The central enigma of these ghost towns is their abandonment. Why did the life force drain from them? Was it simply that the gold ran out, or were there other, more complex factors at play? For many, the answer lies in the harsh economic realities of the frontier. Were they indeed abandoned due to failed ranches, depleted mines, or the volatile nature of a boom and bust economy? Consider the specific case of mining towns. The initial discovery of gold or silver would draw thousands, creating a flurry of activity and rapid construction. But mines eventually played out. The rich veins of ore dwindled, making extraction unprofitable. The brutal winters we discussed earlier, such as the catastrophic winter of 1886 to 87, devastated herds and ruined ranchers, forcing them to abandon their operations. Imagine the quiet, methodical work of archaeologists sifting through layers of dust and debris. They might uncover rusted tools, broken pottery shards, discarded bottles, and remnants of clothing. They are monuments to human ambition, resilience, and ultimately, the impermanence of even the most fervent dreams. We are not seeking grand revelations, but rather allowing the stillness of these abandoned places to work its hypnotic effect, drawing our minds into a deeper understanding of the ebb and flow of human endeavor on a vast and untamed frontier. They spark curiosity about the fading West, inviting us to ponder the countless untold stories locked within their decaying walls. Who were the men and women who lived here? What were their hopes, their fears, their daily routines? Each artifact, no matter how small, tells a story. A worn boot, a bent spoon, a child's toy. These mundane objects speak volumes about the daily struggles, the small comforts, and the aspirations of the people who once called these places home. These finds allow us to piece together the routines of frontier life, the items they valued, and the challenges they faced. Changes in cattle prices, overgrazing leading to barren land, or the extension of railroads that bypass certain areas could also lead to economic decline and eventual desertion. We see evidence of community formation, even in the most remote outposts, the remnants of a church, a schoolhouse, a Masonic lodge. These structures suggest that even in the pursuit of wealth and in the face of harsh conditions, people sought to recreate familiar social structures and find solace in collective identity. The saloon, often the most prominent building, speaks to the social hub it once was, a place for camaraderie, entertainment, and sometimes conflict. When the source of wealth dried up, the people who had come seeking fortune simply packed what they could and moved on, leaving their hastily built settlements to the mercy of the elements. For towns tied to the cattle industry, like some of the smaller outposts, failure could stem from different sources. Delving into archaeological finds within these ghost towns offers tantalizing clues about the lives once lived here. Exploring the cultural practices around frontier life within these abandoned settlements provides further insight. The silence that now envelops these towns allows for a different kind of contemplation. This segment invites a quiet reflection, a gentle journey into the heart of disappearance. Having wandered through the desolate beauty of Montana's ghost towns, where the echoes of hardship and ambition still linger, let us now transition, with a measured pace, to a different facet of the frontier experience, the rugged luxury of a Montana cattle king's lodge. Imagine yourself stepping out of the biting wind of the open range and into a place of warmth, substance, and quiet power, perhaps in the late 1880s, when the great cattle empires were at their zenith. This is not the drafty bunkhouse of the working cowboy. This is a formidable log lodge, built to withstand the harshest winters and to project an image of success and permanence. The cattle king's day might begin with a substantial breakfast, prepared by a cook, rather than a hurried bite of jerky. His mornings might be spent in a comfortable study, surrounded by books, maps, and ledgers, overseeing the vast operations of his ranch. The floor might be covered with thick, plush fur rugs, perhaps from bear or bison, providing a deep, soft cushion underfoot and adding to the rustic opulence. Heavy, handcrafted wooden furniture, upholstered in durable leather, would invite repose. Mounted trophies of elk, deer, and perhaps even a grizzly bear would adorn the walls, silent testaments to the king's prowess as a hunter and his dominion over the wild lands. Picture massive, hand-hewn logs forming the walls, their rough texture softened by years of careful tending. As you step inside, the immediate sensation is one of enveloping warmth, perhaps from a roaring stone fireplace that dominates one end of a grand hall. The air carries the subtle, comforting scent of pine and wood smoke, mingled with the aroma of rich leather. Above your head, grand antler chandeliers cast a soft, flickering light, their intricate branches holding dozens of oil lamps or candles, illuminating the spacious room. Life within these lodges, even in the heart of the wilderness, was a stark contrast to the cowboy's arduous existence. And the feasts held within these walls were legendary. Imagine a long, polished dining table laden with an abundance of frontier delicacies. The rich, savory aroma of roasted elk or venison would fill the air, a hearty main course. Alongside it, perhaps wild game birds, fresh vegetables from a sheltered garden, and breads baked in a stone oven. And, of course, flowing whiskey, the quintessential drink of the frontier, served in heavy tumblers, its warmth spreading slowly through the system. These were not just meals. They were declarations of wealth and influence, opportunities to entertain important guests, consolidate power, and celebrate success. The sounds would be convivial, the clinking of glasses, the murmur of conversation, perhaps the deep laughter of men who had achieved great things. Beyond the domestic comforts, the Cattle King's Lodge was often a hub of negotiations with miners and other entrepreneurs. The Montana frontier was a dynamic place where cattle empires often overlapped with mining interests. The king might host mining magnates, railroad tycoons, or land speculators, discussing contracts, rights of way, and the future development of the territory. These were quiet battles of wits where fortunes could be made or lost with a handshake and a few carefully chosen words. The cattle king, with his vast land holdings and economic power, held significant sway in these discussions. The cattle king's role in territorial politics was often profound and far-reaching. These men, with their substantial wealth and influence, were not merely ranchers. They were de facto leaders in a sparsely populated, rapidly developing territory. While the cowboy endured frostbitten fingers and slept in a drafty bunkhouse, the king enjoyed the warmth of a roaring fire, fine food, and comfortable surroundings. The cowboy's daily life was a relentless physical struggle. The king's was a strategic game of economics and politics. This disparity highlights Montana's elite, showcasing the vast chasm between those who toiled on the land and those who commanded its resources from a position of rugged luxury. It's a testament to the powerful allure of the American West, where immense fortunes could be forged, creating lives of opulence, even in the heart of a harsh, untamed land. Allow your mind to gently absorb these images of comfort and command as we contemplate the nuanced layers of life on the Montana frontier. They lobbied for favorable laws, influenced appointments, and often held political offices themselves. Their decisions made within the walls of these lodges affected everything from land use and water rights to the establishment of law enforcement and infrastructure development. They were instrumental in shaping Montana from a wild frontier into a more organized, albeit still rugged, state. This offers a vivid contrast to the cowboy's hardship we explored earlier. As we move from the rugged comforts of the Cattle King's Lodge, let us now delve into a more unsettling yet equally defining aspect of the Montana frontier, the often brutal reality of frontier justice personified by the rise of vigilante groups, particularly the Yellowstone vigilantes in the early 1880s. This period highlights the raw, sometimes violent, means by which order was sought in a land where formal law enforcement was thin on the ground. Imagine a vast, sparsely populated territory where distances were immense and settlements isolated. In this environment, the lines between right and wrong, between victim and aggressor, could become blurred. A man accused, perhaps tied to a tree or led to an impromptu gallows fashioned from a sturdy beam. The air would be thick with tension, the only sounds the rustle of clothing, the creak of rope, and the strained breathing of those assembled. The purpose was clear: to instill fear, to deter further crime, and to restore a brutal semblance of order. The bodies were often left as stark warnings, grim markers on the landscape. The phrase, hanged for horse stealing, or shot for rustling, became a chilling epitaph, a stark testament to the unforgiving nature of frontier justice. The legal system, with its distant courts and limited sheriffs, often struggled to keep pace with the rapid influx of people. Some honest, many opportunistic, and a significant number outright criminal. This vacuum of official authority created a fertile ground for self-appointed groups to emerge, promising to deliver the swift justice that the formal system often could not. The Yellowstone vigilantes, active primarily in the central and eastern parts of Montana Territory, were one such group. Their rise was a direct response to a perceived surge in lawlessness, cattle rustling, horse theft, stagecoach robberies, and outright murder. Picture the frustration and fear among honest ranchers and citizens who saw their livelihoods threatened and their lives endangered. The quiet hum of daily life was often punctuated by tales of banditry and violence, fostering a pervasive sense of insecurity. The actions of these vigilantes were not discreet or subtle. They operated with a stark, often chilling efficiency. Suspected criminals, once apprehended, were rarely given the benefit of a formal trial. Instead, they faced immediate judgment by the vigilante committee, often in hastily convened meetings under the vast open sky or within the confines of a rudimentary cabin. The evidence was often circumstantial, based on reputation or direct accusation. The executions were swift and summary. Imagine the quiet solemnity, yet underlying dread of such an event. While these actions brought a crude form of order, they were undeniably controversial and remain so in historical memory. Many of the vigilantes were respectable citizens, driven by a desperate need for security. It speaks to a deeply ingrained belief among many pioneers that self-reliance and direct action were necessary for survival in a harsh environment. The story of the Yellowstone vigilantes is a testament to the raw, unpolished nature of the frontier, a place where the rule of law was often forged not in courtrooms, but in the unforgiving crucible of necessity. However, the lack of due process, the potential for mistaken identity, personal vendettas, or the settling of scores meant that innocent individuals could, and sometimes did, become victims. The thin line between justice and vengeance was often blurred. This period was a stark, sometimes brutal, chapter in the development of Montana, illuminating the desperate measures sometimes taken to establish social control where formal institutions were weak. As we contemplate these stark realities, let us do so with a calm, detached perspective, acknowledging the harshness of the past without dwelling on explicit details. This segment offers a quiet reflection on the difficult choices faced by those who sought to build a society in the wilderness and the profound, sometimes unsettling ways in which justice was dispensed when the institutions of order were still in their infancy. As the stark images of frontier justice and the challenges of the open range begin to recede, let us now turn our attention to an agent of immense change, of force that would irrevocably alter the very fabric of Montana, connecting its vast, isolated expanses to the rest of the nation: the Great Northern Railway. Its westward push in the late 19th century was not merely an engineering feat. It was a catalyst for unprecedented economic and social transformation. Hill's philosophy was not merely to build a railroad, but to develop the territory it served. He understood that a railroad's success depended on the prosperity of the communities along its route. This meant actively promoting settlement, encouraging agriculture, and facilitating the extraction of Montana's vast natural resources. Imagine the immense scale of the undertaking. Thousands of laborers, working through the brutal Montana winters and scorching summers, laying track across mountains, prairies, and rivers. The rhythmic clanging of hammers striking spikes, the hiss of steam locomotives, and the shouts of work crews would have replaced the quiet solitude of the plains in these construction zones. This was a symphony of industrial progress, slowly but surely weaving a still thread across the vastness. The Great Northern Railway, largely the vision of its shrewd and determined president, James J. Hill, was unique among the transcontinental lines. The impact on Montana's economy was immediate and profound. Before the railroad, transporting goods, be it cattle, timber, or minerals, was a slow, arduous, and costly endeavor. Suddenly, Montana's products could reach distant markets in the east with unprecedented speed and efficiency. Imagine the long cattle drives, now replaced by train cars filled with livestock. The copper and silver from Butts mines, once constrained by transport costs, could now be shipped across the country, fueling the nation's industrial growth. Agriculture, too, was revolutionized. Farmers could now reliably ship their wheat and other crops, transforming vast tracts of prairie into productive farmland. The railroad itself also created new jobs and industries, from maintenance crews to station agents to the burgeoning businesses that sprang up around the new rail depots. Beyond the economy, the Great Northern had an equally significant social impact. It facilitated an immense wave of settlement. Prior to the railroad, homesteaders faced immense challenges reaching the interior of Montana. The train offered a quicker, safer, and more affordable passage. Imagine families arriving at newly established towns along the rail lines, carrying their few possessions, their faces alight with hope for a new life. Towns that were once tiny outposts just swelled into bustling communities, sometimes almost overnight. It was a place where life was lived on the edge, yet it fostered a unique spirit of resilience and self-reliance. The challenges faced by its inhabitants, the triumphs they achieved, and the quiet mysteries they left behind all contribute to a rich tapestry that continues to fascinate. Ethnic enclaves formed as immigrants from Europe and other parts of the United States sought opportunities in this new frontier. The population of Montana exploded, bringing with it a greater diversity of cultures, skills, and perspectives. Furthermore, the railroad brought the outside world closer. Newspapers, mail, manufactured goods, and even cultural influences flowed into Montana with greater ease. This began the slow process of integrating Montana into the broader American society, breaking down its isolation and diminishing its raw frontier character. The vast, untamed wilderness, once accessible only to the hardiest pioneers, was now being traversed by steel rails and steam engines, opening it up to development and changing its very essence. This period of transformation marked a significant departure from the solitary cowboy lifestyle and the raw vigilante justice that defined earlier eras. While challenges remained, the railroad brought a new sense of order, connectivity, and opportunity. The quiet rumble of a distant train, even now, can evoke a sense of journey and transformation. This segment gently brings us to the close of our historical journey, leaving us with a sense of Montana as evolution from a wild frontier to a land increasingly connected and developed. The landscape, once solely dominated by natural forces, now bore the indelible mark of human ingenuity and ambition on an unprecedented scale. As we contemplate the powerful engine of progress that was the Great Northern Railway, allow your mind to gently consider how technology can reshape entire regions, drawing people together and creating new possibilities. Montana, in the late 19th century, was a crucible of human endurance, ambition, and adaptation. What if your deepest desire wasn't just a betrayal of your spouse, but a sacred insult to the very ancestors who watched over your clan, risking not just your life, but your entire lineage's fortune? Imagine yourself, if you will, not in the comfort of your present moment, but transported back, far back, to the year 800 BCE. The setting is a vast, often deeply structured, complex unit of ancient Chinese society, a Zhou clan. And you are, for the purpose of our quiet contemplation, a wife, one whose days are meticulously ordered by ritual and tradition, yet whose inner world may hold a profound, unsettling secret. You are quietly preparing ancestral offerings meticulously, arranging food and incense, all while subtly hiding forbidden feelings that stir within your heart. The first sensation that might envelop you is the pervasive discomfort of your everyday attire. Your hemp robe scratches against your skin, a constant, subtle irritation, a quiet reminder of the coarse materials of the age. Imagine the rough texture, the slight stiffness as you move through the ancestral halls, performing your duties. This minor physical discomfort is a quiet mirror to the larger internal tension you carry. The dominant sounds would be the soft swish of ropes as people move with quiet purpose, and the gentle clink of ceramic vessels as offerings are placed. Your daily sustenance, though vital, offers little variety or pleasure. Your diet consists primarily of barley, a staple grain that provides basic sustenance but little else. Imagine the earthy flavor, the simple chewiness, the quiet act of consuming a meal designed purely for practicality. There would be little of the rich, varied fare reserved for grand feasts. Only the quiet understanding that this humble food provides the minimal energy needed to endure another long day of ritual and duty. But beyond these physical and emotional strains, there is a pervasive and profound societal dimension that dictates your very existence. Clan elders judge you. Imagine the subtle weight of their gazes, the unspoken expectations and their quiet observations as you go about your tasks. Every action, every gesture might be scrutinized, interpreted, or even subtly condemned by the powerful figures who uphold the clan's strict moral and ritual order. The air would feel heavy with unspoken expectation, a quiet pressure that underlines every interaction. This segment immerses you in the sensory grind of being a Zhou clan wife. You observe the smoky altars, the constant presence of burning incense, and ritual fires, lending a mystical, almost ethereal quality to the sacred spaces. The subtle scent of wood smoke and reverence would pervade the air. The sounds would include the resonant, deep tones of bronze bells, struck at precise moments during rituals, their echoes reverberating through the ancestral hall, signifying moments of profound spiritual connection and strict adherence to form. And beneath all this, a pervasive, quiet tension, the fear of being cast out for infidelity. Imagine the quiet dread of having your hidden feelings discovered, knowing that such a transgression could lead to public humiliation, banishment from your family, and a life utterly without social standing or protection. This fear was not of personal anger, but of systemic retribution, a quiet shadow that hung over every private thought and subtle glance sought to exist in such a state. To navigate daily life within this confined, demanding, and ideologically charged institution required immense, quiet discipline. It demanded a deep, often unspoken, understanding of both ritual purity and profound social consequence. A quiet resilience in the face of constant physical discomfort and moral scrutiny, and a quiet, almost meditative acceptance of limitations beyond your personal control. The rhythm of your days would be a constant, subtle negotiation of duty, conscience, and the deep, almost primal, connection to the few moments of true emotional respite or shared humanity that sustained your very spirit. From the strict order of the Zhou clan household and the hidden tensions within a wife's heart, let us now gently descend deeper into the realm of forbidden's desires, the forbidden's loves of the clan. In a society meticulously structured by ritual and kinship, the transgression of personal bonds carried immense social and spiritual weight, turning private feelings into profound public dangers. This segment invites you to observe the subtle risks, the quiet communications, and the severe consequences that define clandestine affections in ancient Zhou China. Imagine the subtle interactions within the clan's daily routines. You might share glances during rituals, a fleeting connection across a crowded ancestral hall, a silent acknowledgement of a shared, unspeakable feeling. Imagine the quiet intensity of these moments, the brief meeting of eyes amidst the solemnity of offerings, the subtle shift in focus from sacred duty to a hidden desire. The sounds would be hushed, perhaps the steady rhythm of a ritual chant, punctuated by the soft rustle of robes and the quiet beat of your own heart. However, the weight of the clan's moral code was omnipresent. Zhou's strict kinship rules punished adultery with exile or death. Imagine the ancient texts, the pronouncements of the elders, echoing through the generations, clearly defining the severe penalties for such transgressions. The societal understanding was clear. A breach of fidelity threatened the lineage, dishonored the ancestors, and disrupted the cosmic harmony that the Zhou believed underpinned their rule. The knowledge of these punishments hung like a silent, heavy cloud over any burgeoning illicit affection. Yet, despite these dire consequences, human emotions sometimes defied even the strictest societal boundaries. Tales of such forbidden love speak of secret meetings by wells, a common and often solitary gathering place in ancient villages. Imagine the quiet approach under the cover of dusk or the early morning mist, the hushed voices, the fleeting touches, the subtle splash of water as a bucket is lowered. The well, the source of life, paradoxically became a clandestine sanctuary for forbidden connection. The sense of damp earth and cool, fresh water would surround these furtive encounters. Sometimes, a quiet, symbolic exchange might solidify a hidden bond. Imagine bronze token exchanges, small, intricately crafted pieces, perhaps halves of a larger token, meant to signify a secret pact or promise. The gentle clink of the bronze, the smooth, cool feel of the metal in your palm, would represent the profound, unspoken commitment. These were not just objects. They were silent witnesses to a dangerous affection, carried close to the heart as both a comfort and a constant risk. But always, the greatest dread was the dread of ancestral spirits cursing your betrayal. In Zhou's society, ancestors were not distant figures. They were active participants in the lives of the living, their favor essential for prosperity, their displeasure bringing misfortune. Imagine the quiet anxiety that would accompany every secret act, the fear that the spirits of your forefathers, watching from the ancestral halls, would witness your transgression and bring a quiet, devastating curse upon your family, your lineage, and your very crops. This was a fear far deeper than mere human punishment, reaching into the spiritual fabric of existence, to engage in such forbidden loves. To navigate such profound risks required immense, quiet courage, or perhaps a profound desperation. It demanded a constant awareness of omnipresent danger, a subtle negotiation of desire with destiny, and a quiet, almost desperate, hope that the secret could be kept. The gentle whisper of wind through reeds, the distant sounds of daily life, and the pervasive, quiet dread of ancestral displeasure. These are the calming echoes of profound human passions and the heavy weight of ancient societal norms, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet battles waged between the heart and the strictures of a structured world. From the universal tension of forbidden love within the strictures of the Zhou clan, let us now gently turn our thoughts to a more personal narrative, one that illustrates the profound cost of defying ancient traditions. We consider the fictional, yet representative story of Lady Ji and the warrior bow, whose hidden affection became a quiet tragedy, echoing the severe consequences for those who broke the rigid societal norms of their age. This narrative traces their forbidden love, its inevitable discovery, and the solemn punishment that followed, told in a soothing tone that captures the quiet sorrow of defiance. Imagine Lady Ji, a noblewoman within a prominent Zhou clan, living a life meticulously defined by duty and expectation. Her days would involve overseeing household affairs, participating in ancestral rites, and maintaining the honor of her family name. Her world was one of elegant silence and prescribed rules. Into this ordered existence, a forbidden connection quietly began to form with Bio, a warrior in the clan service. He might have been a man of quiet strength, his presence a subtle contrast to the formality of her daily life. Imagine the clandestine glances exchanged during formal gatherings, the hurried whispers in shadowed courtyards, the profound unspoken understanding that developed between them. The sounds would be hushed, the distant clatter of a warrior's training, or the soft rustle of her silk garments as she moved with quiet grace, carrying her secret close. Their forbidden love, though cherished in secret, was a direct challenge to the very foundation of Zhou society. Adultery, particularly within the elite, was not merely a personal failing, but a profound dishonor to the clan's ancestors and a disruption of the cosmic order. Believed to underpin the dynasty's power, it threatened lineage purity and weakened the clan's standing. Imagine the pervasive, quiet dread that must have accompanied their every shared moment, the chilling awareness that discovery would bring not just personal ruin, but collective shame upon their families. The inevitable discovery of their affair would have unfolded with a quiet yet devastating swiftness. Perhaps a servant, observing a suspicious glance, might have carried a whispered rumor to the clan elders, or a careless token might have been found. Imagine the cold, piercing gaze of the clan patriarch, the solemn assembly in the ancestral hall, the air thick with unspoken accusations and profound disappointment. The sounds might be the chilling thud of a heavy wooden door closing, sealing their fate, or the low, mournful tone of a bronze bell, marking the solemn pronouncement of judgment. There would be no dramatic outcry, but a pervasive, heavy silence. The punishment for Lady G, though perhaps not a physical one in the graphic sense, would have been a profound social and spiritual death. She would likely face severe public humiliation, stripping her of her status and honor. She might have been banished from the clan, sent to live in quiet isolation, her name removed from the ancestral tablets, a fate considered worse than physical demise. Imagine her slow, deliberate walk out of the ancestral halls, leaving behind all she knew, entering a world of solitary existence and perpetual shame. For Bao, the warrior, the consequences could have been equally severe, perhaps exile, or even a quiet, swift execution, his name erased from clan memory. The sounds associated with her punishment would be quiet yet final, the soft creak of a distant cart carrying her away, or the mournful cry of a lone bird, echoing the solitude of her new existence. This narrative, though a fictional exploration, offers a meditative contemplation on the profound human cost of defying the rigid traditions of ancient Zhou China. The gentle drip of water from eaves, the faint sigh of wind through empty halls, and the profound, quiet sorrow of a love that defied its time. These are the calming echoes of deep societal values and the enduring human struggle against strictures, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet tragedies woven into the fabric of ancient history. From the quiet tragedy of Forbidden's love and its human cost within the Zhou clan, let us now gently shift our focus to a more enigmatic aspect of their cultural and spiritual lives, the mystery of the Zhou ritual jades. These meticulously carved stones, often discovered buried in ancient sites, offer a profound yet silent glimpse into the clan's beliefs about love, fate, and the unseen forces that governed their world. This segment invites you on a soothing journey into the relics of ancient passion, exploring the subtle clues left behind by long-vanished ceremonies. Imagine an archaeologist, centuries later, carefully excavating the remains of a Zhou clan home or burial site, the quiet brush of a soft tool removing centuries of accumulated earth, the methodical uncovering of fragile relics, might reveal something truly exquisite. A piece of carved jade, its smooth, cool surface still holding the quiet luminescence of antiquity. This leads us to the quiet question: why were jade amulets buried in Zhou clan homes? The very presence of jade in such intimate domestic and funerary contexts sparks a quiet curiosity. Jade was not merely a precious material. It was imbued with profound spiritual significance in ancient China, associated with purity, immortality, and connection to the heavens. Imagine the painstaking craftsmanship that went into shaping each piece, the quiet dedication of the artisan, the subtle variations in its green hues, the cool, weighty feel of the stone in your imagined hand would speak of its enduring power, Within collections of such archaeological finds, you might encounter various forms of these ritual jades. Some could be elaborate carved jades, perhaps in the form of dragons, cicadas, or by discs, symbols with deep cosmological meanings intended to connect the living with the ancestral spirits. Imagine the intricate details, the almost imperceptible lines etched into the hard stone, each stroke a deliberate act of devotion. Other finds might include ritual vessels made of bronze or ceramic, often decorated with patterns that echo the symbolism found on the jades, suggesting their use in offerings or ceremonies within the home. The subtle clink of a jade piece against a bronze vessel or the smooth feel of a ceramic pot would be the sounds of these ancient, sacred tools. These artifacts prompt profound theories about their use in love curses or atonement. Were some jades used in rituals to bind lovers together, perhaps in a quiet attempt to influence fate? Or, conversely, were they employed in love curses, not to harm, but perhaps to sever illicit bonds or to bring a transgressor to justice? Through spiritual means, the idea of atonement also emerges. Perhaps certain jades were buried as offerings, a quiet plea to appease offended ancestral spirits, or to seek forgiveness for a breach of ritual order, like an act of infidelity. Imagine the quiet desperation or fervent hope that might have accompanied the burial of such an object, a silent prayer made to the unseen realm. The very ambiguity of their purpose makes them all the more intriguing, a quiet mystery waiting to be fully deciphered. The lives of these ancient Zhou clans, though meticulously ordered, were also touched by human emotion and spiritual belief, which found tangible expression in these exquisite, enduring stones. The gentle brush of an archaeologist uncovering a hidden relic, the smooth, cool touch of an ancient jade, and the profound, silent questions whispered by these beautiful artifacts. These are the calming echoes of deep spiritual practices, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet power of human belief and the enduring mysteries of the ancient world. From the enigmatic ritual jades that hint at private passions and spiritual atonement, let us now gently shift our focus to a contrasting and perhaps more outwardly austere perspective, the life of a Zhou clan leader. While the clan wife navigated hidden emotions and strictures, and the forbidden lovers faced dire consequences, the leader operated at the pinnacle of clan power, tasked with upholding the rigid ritual order and protecting the clan's honor. This segment invites you to explore the revered, yet deeply rigid and often precarious, world of Zhou's patriarchal elite, from their ceremonial duties to the constant pressures of maintaining family reputation and asserting dominance amidst rival clans. Imagine yourself not hiding Forbidden's feelings, but seated on a raised dais within the quiet solemnity of a grand wooden hall, the heart of the clan's authority. The air here would feel different, perhaps carrying the subtle scent of aged wood, the faint aroma of incense from a distant altar, and the pervasive quiet of disciplined order. The sounds would be precise and measured, the soft thump of a wooden block signifying the start or end of a pronouncement, the gentle rustle of heavy silk robes as you move with ceremonial grace, and the low, steady murmur of respectful attention from those gathered before you. Your days as a clan leader would be filled with a different kind of intensity. Your primary role involves preserving the clan's ancestral legacy and its social standing. You would spend hours meticulously overseeing rituals, from ancestral sacrifices to ceremonies marking important life events. Imagine the precise movements, the formal pronouncements, the deep spiritual focus required to ensure every detail adhered to tradition. These rituals were not merely symbolic. They were believed to maintain cosmic harmony, ensuring prosperity for the clan and favor from the ancestors. The very act of performing them was a demonstration of your authority and piety. Life as a clan leader though filled with responsibility, also offered a degree of material comfort and social esteem. You might dine on millet, a staple grain, but perhaps accompanied by richer foods, carefully prepared meats, or fermented beverages reserved for the elite. Imagine the quiet, measured enjoyment of such a meal, a brief respite from the constant demands of leadership. These comforts, however, came with their own set of profound pressures. Indeed, despite these privileges, the realities of maintaining clan order presented constant challenges. Family dishonor was a subtle, yet potentially devastating, threat to your authority and the clan's prestige. Imagine receiving reports of a member's transgression, a breach of ritual, or, most gravely, an act of infidelity that could bring shame upon the entire lineage. The quiet dread of such news, the internal struggle to decide upon appropriate punishment to cleanse the stain, would be immense. A failure to address dishonor decisively could weaken your own position and invite scorn from other clans. Furthermore, the pervasive threat of rival clans constantly loomed, threatening your authority. Imagine the subtle political maneuvering, the careful alliances, the quiet intelligence gathering regarding the movements and intentions of neighboring clans. Disputes over land, resources, or ancestral claims were common. The knowledge that a wrong decision could lead to conflict, or even the diminishment of your clan's power, was a persistent, unspoken burden. Your leadership was a delicate balance of ceremonial precision, moral enforcement, and shrewd political strategy to ensure your clan's survival and continued prosperity in a competitive world. This segment explores the complex, often solitary, world of the Zhou clan leader, a life revered for its adherence to tradition, yet profoundly burdened by the immense responsibilities of maintaining ritual order, enforcing moral purity, and navigating the intricate web of interclan politics. From the soft thump of a ceremonial block and the rustle of noble silks to the profound, silent weight of potential dishonor and external threats, these are the calming echoes of a unique leadership experience, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the intricate web of power, tradition, and social survival within ancient Zhou China. From the intricate world of clan leaders and their constant vigilance against dishonor, let us now gently shift our focus to the overarching societal values that permeated every aspect of Zhou Dynasty life, the profound weight of ancestors, and the critical importance of ritual purity. In a society where the living were inextricably linked to the dead, moral transgressions, especially adultery, were not merely private failings, but deeply unsettling ruptures in the cosmic and social order, demanding a visible purging. This segment invites you to contemplate the mechanisms of public shame and the enduring belief that purity was a bedrock of societal well-being. Imagine the pervasive understanding within a Zhou clan that the actions of an individual directly reflected upon the entire lineage, stretching back through generations. The clan's reputation was its most valuable asset, a delicate fabric woven from adherence to ritual, moral uprightness, and ancestral favor. This leads us to the quiet question: how did moral transgressions profoundly impact the clan's standing with ancestors and other clans? An act like adultery cast a long, cold shadow, threatening not only the living members, but also, crucially, the prosperity and favor believed to be bestowed by the ancestral spirits. When such a transgression came to light, the response was often public and deeply symbolic. Public shaming was a powerful mechanism of social control, designed to reassert the moral order and cleanse the perceived impurity. Imagine a solemn gathering in a central courtyard, not with shouts or fury, but with a palpable, heavy silence. The sounds might be only the soft sigh of a hushed crowd, the quiet movement of elders, and the chilling silence from the accused, stripped of their usual social standing. The physical display of disgrace, though not violent, was profound, perhaps a public denouncement, a forced confession, or a ritualistic act of ostracism that separated the individual from the communal body. The concept of ritual purity was not just an abstract idea. It was a societal bedrock believed to be essential for the clan's continued harmony and prosperity. Any breach of moral codes, particularly those related to family and lineage, was seen as an impurity that could offend the ancestors, leading to misfortune, poor harvests, or even military defeat. Imagine the quiet, deep-seated fear that such a transgression might bring about a devastating curse, not just on the individuals involved, but on the entire clan. The constant effort to maintain this purity permeated daily life, from meticulous ritual adherence to strict moral policing to cleanse the clan of such a stain. Atonement was often sought through ritual means, sometimes involving the very ritual. Jades we discussed earlier were formal pronouncements to the ancestors. For the individual, the experience of being subjected to this public shame and the process of atonement was a profound form of suffering. Imagine the quiet agony of being shunned, the psychological weight of knowing you had brought dishonor upon your lineage. The social ostracism might have been complete, the person effectively becoming a non-entity within the very community that once defined their existence. The soft creak of an old gate gently closing behind a banished individual would symbolize their final separation. This segment explores the profound, quiet power of societal values in ancient Zhou China, where the actions of one individual could send ripples of consequence through an entire clan and into the spiritual realm of the ancestors. The subtle sigh of a hushed crowd, the cold silence of communal disapproval, and the pervasive, quiet dread of ancestral displeasure. These are the calming echoes of deeply rooted beliefs and the intricate societal mechanisms used to maintain order, inviting deep and tranquil contemplation on the quiet strength of ancient traditions and their enduring impact on human lives. So I've witnessed the profound complexities that define this era, its strict ritual order, and its enduring human passions, its deep ancestral reverence, and its harsh societal consequences, its visible structures and its hidden emotional landscapes. It is a world both ancient and deeply resonant, a testament to the intricate and often challenging nature of human connection and societal control within a tightly structured historical tapestry as the echoes of these quiet yet deeply evocative tales gently recede into the stillness of the past. Allow your mind to drift back to the comfort and tranquility of your own space, your own time. The sounds of ancient bells have quieted. The rustle of coarse robes has faded. The journey through this fascinating age is complete. May your rest be deep and your dreams peaceful. Good night.